All right, perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. And Heidi, thanks for hosting this and really interesting lineup of presentations so far. So yeah, I'm the director of the Housing Innovation Collaborative, which is a nonprofit housing-focused R&D platform based here in Los Angeles. And we were founded a few years ago by a handful of affordable housing developers, architects, bankers and brokers and social services providers that work in the affordable housing development space in Los Angeles to really kind of create a platform for showcasing and sharing best practices in new solutions around new designs, new policy solutions, and new financing mechanisms, and really kind of bringing people out of, I guess, the echo chambers of the usual sort of industry silos and sort of sharing ideas around addressing the housing affordability crisis and the homelessness crisis here in Los Angeles and cities around the world. So with that, I can just give a quick background around the Housing Innovation Collaborative and some of the areas that we're tackling in the space. So I guess the next slide. How do I just click it? So for the mission, it's sort of right in our name, is housing underserved communities. So we're sort of looking at new strategies and showcasing those strategies on how do we scale production of housing for sort of everything from the 0% AMI, people experiencing homelessness or in unsheltered status or on the verge of homelessness, all the way up to the workforce housing segment that can't drive, that can't live within a 2-hour drive of where they work. And if you kind of look at how the housing production has been going over the past 10 years in places like Los Angeles, they sort of look like this graph where 95% of new housing built is for 140% AMI and above. And so you sort of ask, we are tackling this housing deficit question around how do we scale housing, sort of everything from transitional housing and lowest barrier to entry to housing, all the way through up to the sort of middle class, missing middle housing. We're looking at innovations sort of on this platform of showcasing across the entire production line of building a new unit of housing. So at the end of the day, we want as many ribbon cuttings as possible for new emergency shelter villages and more permanent supportive housing, all the way up through more workforce housing. So we're kind of looking at every strategy that sort of accelerates or drives down the cost of building that new housing. Our platform, given the pandemic, we've sort of very much shifted into being kind of a virtual housing World's Fair. So because we are a website on the web, we actually have quite a big global presence in addition to a national presence of just sort of an audience that both can platform of showcasing ideas and also is kind of frequenting and learning from other stakeholders in the space. So some of the initiatives that we've done, we've cataloged a bunch of different themes around the housing innovation world. We created the world's largest database of rapidly deployable shelter for times of emergency in partnership with HUD and FEMA, Cal OES in the state of Texas, and combining a bunch of different databases around how to deploy rapid shelter. And another initiative that we've recently launched is the Essential Housing Campaign, which is really trying to unlock this really hard challenge around how do you pencil a deal for the median household income in Los Angeles, and kind of tackling this challenge of, in order to create a more sustainable city and for people to not drive 2 hours each way to their job, we're going to have to figure out how to design and develop and build a more inclusive city. And so we're really trying to unlock that kind of very complex problem with the Essential Housing Campaign by showcasing various solutions in the space. So you can learn more by going to housinginnovation.co. So that's it.